Tonight on The Buzz, we are looking at user groups. They were at the heart of the personal computer revolution, but where are they now? This week, we talk with user group leaders across the U.S. to learn more. We start with Mike Horton, the head cutter for the Los Angeles Creative Pro User Group. In fact, they celebrated their 18th birthday last night. Tonight, Mike talks about the evolution of user groups and how he sees their future. Next, Sue Lawson is president of the Chicago Creative Pro User Group, also celebrating their 18th anniversary this year. Tonight, we talk with Sue about the value of user groups and how the dynamics of user groups have changed over the years. Next, Wendy Woodhall is the executive director of the Los Angeles Post-Production Group, celebrating its 10th year this year. Tonight, Wendy explains what it takes to make a user group successful. Next, Carey Dissmore co-founded and runs IMUG, the International Media Users Group. Tonight, we talk with Carey about what a user group should be and what makes IMUG different from traditional user groups. All this, plus James DeRuvo with our weekly doddleNEWS update. The Buzz starts now.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
Uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for the creative content industry, covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. Back in the 1990s, user groups were the driving heart of the personal computer revolution. It seemed every city had at least one, and generally more, user groups. But over the last 10 years, they've been dwindling. Why? Are user groups still relevant, or are they a relic of the past? Tonight, we talk with 4 user group leaders about the challenges of running a user group, why so many of them have disbanded, and what they see as the role of the user group in the future. The groups range in age from 10 years for LAPPG to 22 years for IMUG. So if anyone knows what's happening in user groups, our 4 guests tonight do. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Before we start, though, I want to invite you to subscribe to our free weekly show newsletter at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Every issue every week provides quick links to the different segments on the show, plus articles of interest to filmmakers. Best of all, it's free and comes out every Saturday. Now it's time for our doddleNEWS update with James DeRuvo. Hello, James.
Happy Thursday, Larry.
And a wonderful Thursday to you. It's good to have you back. What's the news this week?
Boxcast had a live video announcement yesterday launching their Boxcaster Pro. It comes with 4K 60 live streaming. It's future-proofed using H.265 HEVC. I'm so glad that somebody finally ponied up and started to really focus on using that codec because it really needs to hit the big time. It's got HDMI and 12G SDI connectivity, dual XLR quarter-inch balanced audio connections. It's got back-end encoding complete with on-screen text and sharing to all major social media portals. This thing is a beast.
Very impressive. I watched the same stream, but there's lots of other streaming tools in the market. Why pay attention to this?
There really are plenty of other live stream solutions out there, as you know, but Boxcast seems to have really thought through how to deliver content from camera to live stream at almost every single budget, from single camera production all the way up to a 5-camera setup. The guys at Boxcast are downright passionate about being the best solution for that any budget, and I think Boxcaster Pro is going to be a game changer, especially when you can get into it for under $2,000 right now.
All right, that's Boxcast. What's next?
Well, Apple is finally going to address the problem with the butterfly keyboards on the MacBook Pro and the MacBook. Facing 3 class action lawsuits, Apple has finally admitted that their problematic butterfly keyboards need some work. And so they will offer to repair qualifying laptops for free and will refund any repair that has already been paid for over the last year or so.
Well, what caused this problem in the first place?
This is the one case where Apple's obsession with designing their products thinner and lighter is going to cost them. The butterfly keyboard design was interesting, but it would easily get clogged with dust and debris. And their solution to clean it would probably cause more harm than good because you had to hold it at a 75-degree angle and use this really super cold canned air in order to get into all the places. And then you would turn it to another one and try it again. And I can just imagine a lot of people have dropped their MacBooks trying to clean their keyboards. I'm really glad that they finally woken up to the fact that this needs to be fixed. Now, if we can only get them to get rid of that damn touch bar.
Okay, that's hardware. What else we got?
Do you remember when you were in high school, you went and got pants scared off of you from the movie Alien?
Only once. I made it halfway through that film and left the theater and never came back.
Man, that thing was scary. To celebrate the 40th anniversary, 20th Century Fox wants you to direct the next chapter in the Alien saga. They're going to team up with Tongal, which is this filmmaker contest portal, and they're going to select 6 filmmakers based on the strength and originality of their pitches to produce a 6 to 9 minute short film set in the original 1979 Alien universe. This is a multi-phase contest consisting of 2 pitch rounds, a pre-production round, and a production round. And as you get whittled down from the initial 18 to the top 6, you will be given a budget of around $35,000 to create the ultimate sci-fi horror short film.
Why the emphasis on fan films?
For those of you who don't understand what a fan film is, it's basically a film set in the universe of another property like Alien or Star Wars or Star Trek. And fan films are a great way to cut your teeth on storytelling by playing in a very familiar sandbox. But it's seldom that filmmakers get to do it with the blessings of a studio, much less getting paid to do it. Each phase of this competition will get a filmmaker's feet wet in the development process, and it promises to be a great journey. If you want to get involved in it, though, you got to hurry because the contest ends on July 6th, and then it'll be game over, man. Game over.
James, what other stories are you following this week?
Other stories we're following: Disney wins approval from the feds to buy Fox. Rode releases a new video mic with a lightning connection, and we sit down with Red Giant's Aaron Rabinowitz for 20 questions. Hey, I also hear that you're doing user groups tonight on The Buzz. I'm a real big fan of user groups. You meet so many interesting people and you learn a lot of really cool things.
See, that's exactly the point. All too often, we get stuck behind our computer screens, but there's a world of interesting people, technology, and techniques that only user groups can provide.
I'm looking forward to your interview with Carey Dissmore. He's legendary when it comes to IMUG and Media Motion Ball.
He is indeed. He'll be our last interview tonight. And it's going to be a fun show. And James, for people that want to learn more, not only about the fun stuff, but key industry news, where can they go on the web to learn more?
All these stories and more can be found at doddleNEWS.com.
And James DeRuvo is the editor-in-chief of DoddleNEWS and joins us every week. See you next Thursday.
Next Thursday, Larry.
Here's another website I want to introduce you to, doddleNEWS.com. DoddleNEWS gives you a portal into the broadcast, video, and film industries. It's a leading online resource presenting news, reviews, and products for the film and video industry. DoddleNEWS also offers a resource guide and crew management platform specifically designed for production. These digital call sheets, along with their app, directory, and premium listings, provide in-depth organizational tools for busy production professionals. DoddleNEWS is a part of the Thalo Arts community, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with resources you need to succeed. Whether you want the latest industry news, need to network with other creative professionals, or require state-of-the-art online tools to manage your next project, there's only one place to go: doddleNEWS.com. Mike Horton founded the Los Angeles Creative Pro User Group more than 18 years ago. He's been the head cutter ever since, creating new meetings every month. I also had the great privilege of co-hosting The Buzz with Mike for almost 10 years. Hello, Mike. Welcome back.
Hello, Larry. It's good to be back. It's good to be somewhere.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice. It's been way too long.
Yeah. Remember when we used to do the show together? I
remember. It was every week was an unusual experience.
It was back, in the early 50s, I believe it was.
I think it was 1940s. I think we ushered, war came in at the same time as we began the show.
We put smiles on people's faces when times were glum.
You know, people were smiling, especially when we left.
Yeah.
Tonight we are looking at user groups. 18 years ago, why did you decide to start LACPUG?
Yeah, it's fortuitous because this month is our 18th anniversary. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Oh, you did know that. That's why you're having me on, right?
No, actually, I wanted to do a show on user groups, and I thought of you first. So why did you start the group?
I was an actor prior to that, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and I wanted the second act of my life, and I wanted to direct. And I'd heard about this software called Final Cut Pro, and I started using it and started learning it. I became sort of a member of the 2pop.com community where everybody was solving each other's problems with the software. Kevin Monahan out of San Francisco and Sharon Franklin started a user group a couple of months before I started the one down here in Los Angeles. They sort of razzed me into starting it. I kind of really wanted to do this because then I could surround myself with a bunch of really smart people who knew more than I did, and I could just hang out with them. And little did I know that it would turn into something that would last 18 years and a big chunk of my life.
But what was your goal in starting it besides surrounding yourself with smart people?
We didn't really have a mission statement until several months later, and the goal then was to help educate the post community, because we started out as a Final Cut Pro user group, and we met to help each other learn this software and to see what each other was doing with this software. We'd have show and tells and things like that, but ultimately we became this kind of gathering place for people in the post community and to learn all the tips and tricks and techniques of doing everything, because we later found out that most of us did everything. And it was a one-man band kind of independent filmmakers. And we weren't just a Final Cut Pro user group. We were a colorist user group. We were a special effects user group. We were a visual effects user group. We were everything, audio. And we spent the rest of our 18 years doing that sort of thing.
As the group evolved over time, how would you describe the group today?
We changed our name to the Los Angeles Creative Pro user group.
That was about 5 years ago, wasn't it?
That was about 5 years ago. And really, we changed it primarily to reflect who we were from the beginning. We weren't just a Final Cut Pro user group. We were everything user group in the post community. We had Avid demoing and Premiere and all the other NLEs, as well as all sorts of other things.
Yes, but I hate to interrupt, but that's a little bit of revisionist history, because at the same time the name change occurred is when Final Cut 10 came out.
Yeah, but everybody kind of said that's why I did it, and I really didn't do it because of that. A lot of people left, I guarantee you, after 2011 when Final Cut Pro 10 came out. I'd been thinking about it for, 2-3 years prior to Final Cut Pro 10. It just didn't make any sense to be called the Los Angeles Final Cut Pro user group when we were having meetings that had nothing to do with Final Cut. So after a couple of years of lower attendance and and people, still bitching and moaning about the big change, I decided felt like a good time to change the name to a Creative Pro user group. So we kind of remade ourselves, and it's worked out. But it really wasn't because of the change to Final Cut 10.
User groups across the country have been struggling. We're looking at closings in New York, and Boston is slowing down, San Francisco is slowing down, and groups in Florida and Georgia are no longer meeting. Why are so many user groups struggling?
It's really hard to get people out of the house. The primary mission of this group And the reason that I don't live stream and do a lot of online stuff is because networking, especially in Los Angeles, is one of the most important things you can do in terms of getting work. So you need to get out of the house. You need to go to the events that I put on and meet people, because I can't tell you how many times that people have gotten work just by knowing the people who are there. So you want to go to these kinds of things. It's really hard to get people to show up because it's much easier to stay at home and look at your computer screen and do it that way. So you really kind of have to beat people over the heads to get them out and really take this whole user group thing seriously. And I do. So I work very, very hard each month to come up with a good agenda. And then I beat everybody over the head to get out of the house to get over here. And to the point where some people get sick of my emails. But it's really important that people understand that this is the most important thing that you can do, is to show up at these kinds of events and meet and greet and say, hi, my name is. How many people have you met at these user group meetings that you become lifelong friends with? And you never would have happened if you would have done it virtually. I mean, there's one thing that you can do virtually on a computer, but it's nothing compared to face-to-face stuff. And that's what these user groups, or that's what this user group is all about.
Well, you talk about carefully planning the program.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide what topics to put on, and even if people are interested in that topic?
Yeah, it's... this might sound a bit arrogant, but if it's something that I want to see and I want to learn about, that's what I put on. And also what's relevant that month. And everything changes. So I usually don't set the agenda until like a couple weeks before the event date. I very rarely say, yeah, we'll bring you in 6 months from now, because everything is changing. And I also want to be kind of first when something new comes out. I'm always looking for what is new, and if it is new and if I can find somebody to present on it, that's what I'll do. But it's really difficult to come up with a new agenda every single month, 11 months out of the year for 18 years. And I haven't really repeated myself a lot. And that's just because I take this stuff seriously, also because the industry is changing and changing and changing. It's hard to repeat yourself.
With the constant changes in the industry and the fact that people want to just cocoon at home, what are your greatest challenges in running the group? What is it that's the biggest struggle? And then the flip question is, what's the biggest satisfaction?
Oh, what was number 2 again? I'm a little bit older now, Larry. I can't keep all this.
I'll use smaller words. As you look at the group after 18 years, what's the greatest challenge?
Yeah, the marketing of the events is really tough. I mean, it's only me. There isn't anybody else. And so I have to do everything. And at certain times in the year, you just don't want to do it, but you do it. Trying to get people to attend these events, which includes a lot of marketing, is hard. It's a lot of hard work. And you just hope it works out. And the agenda is what gets people there. So you try to think of an agenda that piques people's interest and will get them out of the house, and so they can enjoy and learn something. And so each month you got to come up with the agenda, which is not easy, or at least an agenda that you think will interest people. But at the same time, you got to come up with an agenda you know that people need. And sometimes they don't think they need it, but you know you need it because of industry changes and evolution and things like that. My interest is not waned at all. I still like this. I still really enjoy doing this, primarily on the days of the event. I love meeting people. I love talking to the people. And I love learning on the nights that we do this. So that's great. The hard part is just getting people to attend and then coming up with that agenda that interests the people. So sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. There are certain agendas where I think people really need this stuff, but they don't care and they don't show up. And and that's just it. And you go, well, what the heck? Aren't you interested in this? No, I guess you're not. I'm in Los Angeles. I can put celebrities up on stage every single month, but I don't want to do that. And I mean, I can put you up on stage, and that'll bring a certain amount of people to the event. But I can't do celebrities and Larry Jordan every month. I gotta mix it up, and and so and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, one of the times it worked was your 18th birthday celebration. Tell us about that. That was last night.
That's an event it's an historical event. 18 years, we had the FCP creator, Randy Ubelos, as our special guest, and he and I just reminisced about the early days, not only the early days of our user group, but the early days of Final Cut Pro, and his life going all the way back to Macromedia and Adobe with Premiere, and we talked about that. And then after that, debuted the documentary about Final Cut Pro 10, which you have, well, you're in it. This is Bradley Olson's documentary called Off the Tracks. It was a night of old meets new, old Final Cut Pro legacy and the digital revolution meets Final Cut Pro 10. So it was the old guard and the new guard, and they were all in one room. It was really fun, and it's one of those moments that just will probably never happen again.
I was there. It was an amazing night, and you deserve a lot of credit for putting it together. For people that want more information about LACPUG, where can they go on the web?
Well, believe it or not, the acronym is still the same as it was 18 years ago. It's LAFCPUG because I'm too lazy. I got to do a website. So, I got to redo my website. And I've been saying that every year now for 17 years. and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. LAFCPUG.org. And you can get all the information you want from that site, including the past 18 years of meetings, which is really kind of interesting.
It is a fascinating collection.
Yeah.
All one word,
LAFCPUG.org.
Okay, I'm going to try it again. That's all one, just be quiet. That's all one word, LAFCPUG, LAFCPUG.org. And Mike Horton is the head cutter of the Los Angeles Creative Pro User Group. And it is a delight to hear your voice again. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Thank you, Larry.
Sue Lawson is the senior editor and owner of Chicago Edit. In her spare time, she runs the Chicago Creative Pro User Group, which will celebrate its 18th anniversary this November. Hello, Sue. Welcome.
Hi, Larry. Good to talk to you.
Well, it's always good to hear your voice because tonight we're talking about user groups, and there's very few people in the country that know more about user groups than yourself. Tell us about the Chicago Creative Pro User Group.
Well, it's a great organization. We were founded 18 years ago, I believe, this November, and it is a place where our community goes, our production and post-production community gathers to meet and greet and learn and teach and share information and challenges and solutions and network, and it's pretty gosh darn awesome.
Well, how long have you been involved with the group?
I've been president for 8 years, but I've been involved with it much longer than that. I started, frankly, when I started learning Final Cut Pro, the original Final Cut Pro. I started attending the meetings then. It was originally founded by Gary Adcock, who is pretty well known in the post-production community and production community as well. He started it, he founded it in Chicago, and I started attending, and so much information was just going straight over my head, but I made those monthly meetings, and I made those connections, and made those friends and relationships where I could ask questions and learn in a very nice environment, and it's still going strong today.
Well, user groups have been around for a long time. I know that when personal computers came out, user groups sprang up about the same time. As you've been with the group for such a long period of time, how have you noticed the dynamics of the group changing over the years?
Well, it certainly ebbs and flows depending upon what's going on in the industry, and as this is Chicago, also what's going on sports-wise. If it is, the Blackhawks are playing, then forget about it. We should just go ahead and change our meeting. But one of the ways that I see that things have changed is, to me, originally, this was the best place and one of the only places that you could get a lot of information. Now, because of the Internet, there's so much information out there. The challenge is to get people, and I think Michael touched upon it as well, the challenge is to get people to come to the meetings and to take advantage of the opportunities that are unique to a user group. To me, it's almost like the old apprenticeship thing. You get to meet people who are where you want to be and where you want to get to, and you get to talk to them and pick their brains and get as much information as you possibly can, and listen to the wonderful people who, come in and present to our group, whether or not they are local, celebs in the industry, or when we're lucky enough to be able to bring in people like you from out of town to come in and present. Those are golden moments, and those are things that they can't necessarily get online. You can get a lot of information there, but to really be able to ask questions and make the connections that you need, whether or not it's to be able to ask questions and learn more, or if it's to go ahead and maybe get a new gig, to next time you're looking for somebody, to find somebody who you know that knows what they're doing. I think a user group is still uniquely qualified for those things.
More and more information is moving online, and online is moving just not to print, but also moving to audio and to video, so people can actually see the people that created the software running the software. What do you see as the future of user groups? And I say this knowing how many groups have closed over the last 10 years. Is this something that it would be nice if it could exist, but it probably won't? Or do you think this is going to be able to survive the trough that it's in now?
I think that it can definitely survive. It takes commitment on the people who are running the user groups. Not to say that everybody has not been committed for the groups that did go ahead and maybe go by the wayside right now, but it is a lot of work. Most groups are run by either one individual. I'm lucky I've got a board. I have a group of people, which helps out because this is nobody's full-time gig. We're all volunteers, making sure that these meetings come across, that we've got a location to meet, that we've got a good agenda, that we've gone ahead and taken care of whoever the speakers are going to be, that we've taken care of everything that we need to take care of. I think that just like anything else, you may see the numbers go down, but I think if you put on a good meeting, people will come. It's that whole field of dreams. If we build it, they will come.
Well, that gets to something Mike and I were talking about, and I want to get your perspective on it. How do you decide what topics to cover and what makes for a good user group meeting? Well,
a good user group meeting, I'll answer the second one first. A good user group meeting is when the members are engaged with the presentations, with the presenters. And you can tell that immediately. They're asking lots of questions. They're spending time with them during the networking break. I have to get a cattle prod to get them to leave the facility after the meeting because they just want to stay around and talk to the presenters and to each other. And that's what makes that's how I know I've had a really good meeting. As far as coming up with those great agendas, I take a lot of input from our members themselves. I love getting the emails from them saying, it would be really cool if we did something on this or on that. And, of course, my board and I, we try to stay as up to speed as we possibly can to see what's going to be coming down the pike, what the new thing is going to be that our members are going to need to know about. Some of our members are very cutting edge, and they're already there. Others are going to need to get to that place. They may not be there yet, but hopefully they will get there. A lot of times it's information that you may not need today, but you're going to need it tomorrow or the next day or next month. So it's a lot about what do we think is going to be important and what are our members already asking for.
Your group is going to celebrate its 18th anniversary in November. What are your plans?
I don't know yet. I'm thinking that we need to do something really special. We do, every December, we have what we call a wrap party, and that's like our big blowout event of the year. I think that we will probably have to do something really special for this one to tie it in with the 18th anniversary because, an 18-year anniversary only comes around once every 18 years. So,
math is a strong point, I see already.
I didn't know I was going to need math. I'm an editor.
Running a user group, as both you and Mike have said, is incredibly difficult. What gives you the energy to keep running the group?
A lot of coffee. But aside from that, it is, to me, it's giving back to the community that has given me so much. It is an awesome, awesome thing to be involved with people who are in this industry, whether they're up and coming or whether or not they're at the top of their field already, it is amazing. The energy that you get from that, it keeps you going. And yes, there are times that you may be absolutely exhausted. For me, I'm a good, with Chicago traffic, I'm a good 2 hours between where I am usually working the day of the meeting and getting down to the meeting, and then a good hour back or so. But that doesn't stop me from loving every single minute of it. I think it's exciting, and I think when you feel the energy in the room and you get the phone calls and the emails and the text messages afterwards, it validates what it is that you're trying to do, which is give everybody the same opportunities that I had when I first started going to the group so many years ago.
Well, I encourage anyone anywhere close to Chicago to join the group. For people that want more information, where can they go on the web?
Our website is www.ChiCPUG, C-H-I, F like Frank, C like Charles, P like Peter, U as in user, G as in group, .org.
That's ChiCPUG.org, and Sue Lawson is the president of the Chicago Creative Pro Users Group. And Sue, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Larry. It was fun.
Bye-bye. Wendy Woodhall co-founded the Los Angeles Post-Production Group, which is called LAPPG, in 2008 with her husband, Woody. She serves as the organization's executive director. In addition, she has 25 years' experience in the entertainment industry, including television production, publicity, marketing, and product placement. Hello, Wendy. Welcome back.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for having me.
Tonight we're talking about user groups. So let's start. Tell us what LAPPG is.
LAPPG is a professional organization for people interested in digital content creation. And it can be on the post-production side of things. It can also be on the production side of things. We've expanded a little bit beyond post in recent years just because the digital landscape was changing. So this is a community for people to become a part of. It's free to join. And it's just meeting with other people that are doing what you're doing, interested in what you're doing. And it gives people a chance to get out of being alone in a room, a dark room, editing all day, come out, be social, learn about new technology, network with other people, and learn about other people's experiences with different workflows. And that's how I find people really connect with one another, by learning about what each other does. And it's been going on for about 10 years now, so we're doing something right.
Well, think back 10 years. Why did you decide to start the group in the first place?
At the time, we had just built a new studio in Santa Monica called Allied Post. We'd been around for a while, but this was a new space. And we had noticed that a lot of our clients had a lot of questions about the post process. We were doing post audio. We kept getting the same questions over and over. And we figured, okay, well, if our clients had these questions, I bet other people have these questions. We did know there was other groups in the LA area, but they were all the way across town. Oh, it's across town, no big deal. But if you're familiar with LA, getting from Santa Monica to Hollywood at 6:30 at night is no picnic. So we decided to see if we had enough interest in creating a community of people, primarily we thought on the west side, because it's kind of hard to get in and out of Santa Monica sometimes. So we thought, let's see if we can get people together who are interested and whose questions we can answer. And I think, Larry, if you were not our first guest, you were one of our first guests.
I do remember that.
And it was in our small lobby, and we had, I don't know, maybe about 15 people there. I don't think we even made it a year in that space because we outgrew it pretty quickly. And then over the years, we've moved from location to location, and now we're over in Crossroads School, which is a private school in Santa Monica, and we meet there every month.
Well, that crosstown group that you refer to in Hollywood is the LA Creative Pro User Group, and we talked to Mike Horton on this show tonight as well. Do you view yourself as competition to them?
No, I really don't. I mean, I admire everything Michael's done. He's always pushing the envelope, bringing new things to the community. I think he does a fantastic job. And a lot of his members are our members. And I think, it's nice because sometimes if we have a speaker and people can't make it, sometimes he'll have somebody like that person or even the same person even, and people have a chance to see the person there. So, I mean, I think Michael does an amazing job. I see them as sort of partners because we're all just trying to create a stronger community for post professionals, editors, and sound designers, and the whole thing.
You've been running the user group for 10 years. How have user groups changed over that time?
I think when we first started, some of the models of the user groups were very platform specific. And when we started, because we were actually primarily focused on audio, but we really wanted to make our group platform agnostic. So it didn't matter if you used Final Cut, if you used Avid or Adobe or what you used, you could come in and you could get information about how to tell stories, the best way to tell stories. And I think originally 10 years ago, people sort of kind of drew a line in the sand. They put their flag down. Oh, I'm a Final Cut person, or I'm an Avid person, or I'm Premiere Pro. And I think over the years, I've seen more flexibility in the professionals and an understanding of being able to use multiple tools, and that it's not really as important of what the tool is. It's what you do with the tools. So I've seen a flexibility. I've seen also people come out of their box. I'm an editor. Well, now sometimes they're interested in doing some audio and some sound design and color work, because so many of our partners, Blackmagic, for example, now their software is incredible because now you can just, in addition to doing your color, you can do your editing in there. You can do your visual effects in there. Now with Fairlight, you can do your audio in there. Or Adobe, for example. Now with Creative Cloud, you have access to all the different programs and different apps that we love. It's so user-friendly, and people can really sort of be a jack of all trades, which sometimes they're asked to be.
I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Mike quite a bit as he and I co-hosted The Buzz in earlier years, and he has remarked that running a user group is not easy. What are some of the challenges you face in running the group?
I think that's something that Mike and I agree on 100%. We talk about it when we see each other. It's a challenge to keep getting fresh ideas, fresh information out there. When you're trying to plan a year, we meet 12 times a year. And when you're trying to plan the year and you have all these great ideas, you want to, have some flexibility so that if something new comes on, you can get that in. Or if something was popular and is not popular, you can replace it with something else. So it's sort of always a live being, for lack of a better word, and you're just trying to sort of stay on top of it. That's always a challenge. Also, I think getting people, which we've been pretty successful with, but I do think, getting people out from the comfort of their homes, their offices, their couches, it's always was a challenge. But I do think now there's so many distractions digitally that people think, oh, I'll just catch it on a tutorial or on a webinar. And I think there's something that we provide, or any user group provides, which is just that social contact that's so missing when it's just digital and online.
What do you see as the future of user groups? Are they going to be around for a while, or are they challenged right now?
I definitely have great feelings about the future. I don't feel that, for me at least, I don't feel like it's a challenge because I'm seeing new members all the time. Our meetings are, I would say, a 50-50 split. We have 50% old members, 50% new members at pretty much every meeting. So I think that there is a strong desire still. Like I said, we're social creatures, so we need to connect. That's how we're made. So I think that there will always be a need to connect. I think also companies like our partners understand the value of community and supporting communities. And trade shows are great, and they have these wonderful booths and everything, but there's something about coming in and talking to a room full of 70, 80, 90 people. That's just a more intimate kind of experience where people can ask questions, get answers. And I think that's something that on both sides, members as well as sponsors and partners and companies really respect and value. So I have very good positive feelings about the future.
Wendy, before I let you go, what does it cost to attend a meeting?
Larry, membership to the group is free. To come to a meeting, it's only $5. And with the $5 entrance fee, you get a giveaway ticket. And we have big giveaways every month.
And for people that want to learn more about where LAPPG meets and about the organization itself, where can they go on the web?
LAPPG.com.
That's all one group of letters, LAPPG.com, LAPPG.com. And Wendy Woodhall is the executive director of the Los Angeles Post-Production Group. And Wendy, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Larry, for having me.
I want to introduce you to a new website, Thalo.com. Thalo is an artist community and networking site for creative people to connect, be inspired, and showcase their creativity. Thalo.com features content from around the world with a global perspective on all things creative. Thalo is the place for creative folks to learn, collaborate, market, and sell their works. Thalo is a part of Thalo Arts, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with the resources you need to succeed. Visit Thalo.com and discover how their community can help you connect, learn, and succeed. That's Thalo.com. Carey Dissmore has been working in television production for over 30 years, focusing his career on 3 disciplines: editor, MoGraph artist, and colorist. He's also the founder of the International Media Users Group called IMUG. Hello, Carey. Welcome back.
Hi, Larry.
So how would you describe IMUG?
IMUG is a collection of production professionals that started out as editors but grew into discussions of anything related to the production industry, even things like sound business strategy that use no particular software or tool, but nevertheless everybody needs to strategize about.
Well, why did you decide to start the group 22 years ago, I might add?
Well, the group sort of started itself. I can't take credit for starting it. I can take credit for organizing it a little more formally. But the movement was there in the nonlinear editing revolution. It was just crazy times, and everybody trying to get their systems to work, and we were driven together by common need.
Common need. Common need for what?
To get our editing work done and keep our systems from crashing was really what it was in the beginning. But interestingly, when you go through those times of testing together, you form bonds, and a community was born. And there are just hundreds, and probably, actually, there are thousands of wonderful people who call themselves members of the IMUG. Now, nobody forced them to join anything. They don't pay any dues. It's entirely voluntary participation, but the community is just a thriving and mature online community that's been through a lot of journeys as the internet really took off, because we pretty much gather as an internet community. We do have the Media Motion Ball every NAB. We just had our 21st one of those. It's a celebration of our community, but really, the great thing is you can have a question when you go to bed at night in the U.S., and by morning, somebody in Australia has answered it.
Well, tonight we've talked with Mike Horton and Sue Lawson and Wendy Woodhall, each of whom run a face-to-face user group. What makes IMUG different from these groups?
Well, I guess, we exist primarily as an online community. Now, it's an email list that might seem archaic to some, but people really like it. And that was one of the best ways even before the web and forums took off. But the interesting thing is that when everybody is participating in a multi-threaded email conversation, they're not just there to get. They end up becoming part of a community and part of a conversation about various aspects of production. I looked on the IMUG list today, and people were talking about clearcoms and headset solutions for live gigs when we need to communicate with crew live. Now that's a little outside the normal scope of the kind of discussions on the IMUG list, but that just kind of gives you an idea of range. And work in production, and you like to share what you're doing, the IMUG list is a good place to hang out.
Well, how has the group changed over time? I mean, it's always been online and it's always been voluntary, so that remains the same. But is there a shift in either focus or membership interest or what?
I think the biggest shift has been towards the types of projects and deliverables. A lot of things have moved towards the web, and in the beginning, that meant low quality, low standards, low budgets, but you're starting to see a lot more higher production value standards because everybody in that group kind of adheres. These are serious working pros. They, for the most part, producing to broadcast standards or higher in all our projects. And so I haven't seen a lot of change in the standards, but of course the equipment changes a lot, the software tools change a lot, but one of the neat things about it is the maturity level of the community is so high, you don't kind of get that chatter, and we've already been down the roads of the things that kind of harm communities, like getting into political topics for one thing, to know that we don't do that. We don't tolerate that in our community. We stick with what truly brings us together. But you know what's really interesting is that everyone, I think there's a secret sauce to a successful online community, and that is that by focusing on the individual to a person, when everyone looks out for their own best interests and then just simply shares that, the collective knowledge base gets built. So it's not always some really high-minded concept, sacrificially giving to the community. I feel like a certain amount of leadership might be that as a way of giving back to organize the community, but really, when people have a challenge in their business and a paycheck is on the line, they're going to do what they need to do to accomplish that project and fulfill that goal and satisfy that client. And when they simply share the challenge and the solutions they came up with, and maybe go to the collective wisdom of the user group for help with that, everybody gets smarter. Everybody gets better.
Well, you've talked about what a key is to a successful user group. What makes it fall apart?
I think when you try too hard to put the wrong foot forward and harness the power of the collective to tell others in the industry what to do or think, and to bring any kind of politically angling into it immediately starts to break up and divide communities. And it really has no place in a community focused on doing the best work we can in video production.
Well, let me, Carey, hold it. Take a breath.
I see using leverage that way. It kind of puts the wrong spin on it.
But let me push back on that just a little bit. Isn't it also the responsibility of the user group that if there's something wrong with a product or something wrong with a piece of hardware, to share that information back with the manufacturer? It shouldn't all just be Pollyanna, should it?
Oh, not at all. And in fact, I feel like it takes care of itself when you end up forming bonds that transcend into personal relationships of all kinds, and this has to do with vendors and tool makers as well as other users. I believe very strongly, and perhaps this puts me out on my own with this, but I don't think so, that personal relationships and not technology form the basis of success in this industry. And that extends to our vendor partners who make the tools we need to use to do production, software, hardware, you name it.
And so when you put the wrong foot forward and come bursting out of the gate with kind of a collectivist agenda trying to dictate policy to the industry, I think that what happens when you put people in relationship building first, those relationships are probably existing before there was a problem with the software or the hardware that needed addressing, and you already perhaps have a relationship with someone at that particular vendor that's having an issue. And there's enough users concerned, and there's definite relationships on the line, and communication is well established. And a lot of these kind of problems are solved with good communication and not sort of heavy-handed tactics. Obviously, that's there because market forces being what they are, they're undeniable. If you've got a product to sell and it doesn't work right, people won't buy it. And they'll talk to each other and talk others out of buying it. So I think it has a way of sorting itself out. It's just kind of like, what do you put first? You know, it's the old chicken and the egg argument. I say I put people first.
So what do you see as the future of user groups? Are you optimistic or pessimistic?
A little of both. I think that, you know, you've made some mention in this community or in this broadcast about various communities and user groups having trouble attracting, especially local level, people to come. And I think that is a direct benefit or caused by, I don't know about you, Larry, but I am busier than ever. And my responsibilities between my business and production work and family life and everything else, I'm just, my plate is full. So I have to very carefully target what things I'm allowed to participate in and cram into my schedule. But so I think that's a factor too. But also the availability of information. I think smart devices have turned us as a society inward a little more. We're a little more self-focused and a little less networking focused. But there's a pushback against that, and that is that human connection is still the bee's knees. It is everything to look someone in the eye and shake their hand and form a relationship. I don't care if they work for Apple or Adobe or Revision Effects, and perhaps get together at NAB or at the Media Motion Ball, or perhaps someone like Sue Lawson or Michael Horton, who is another user who you can look them in the eye and have a conversation and have that human connection and have a freewheeling conversation, that the kind of thing that just can't happen online. It needs to be augmented by that. And once those meetings have happened, at least once, you will go back to your online interactions with those same people, and now they are energized. They're alive. There's a whole different depth and meaning to the conversation. It's just a higher level. And that's why face-to-face interactions, user gatherings, whether local or national, you're always going to need that. You're always going to benefit from that. And I haven't even mentioned the whole getting work angle to all of it.
Well, we will save that for another time because that's a whole speech in and of itself. Carey, for people that want to join IMUG, where can they go on the web?
www.media-motion.tv. You can sign up by email.
That's media-motion, media-motion.tv, and Carey Dissmore is the head honcho. And Carey, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry.
Take care. Bye-bye. You know, I was just thinking, last night, as you heard during my interview with Mike Horton, I attended the 18th birthday celebration of the Los Angeles Creative Pro User Group. There were about 200 people in the audience. Mike's conversation with Randy Ubilos, the architect and lead engineer for Adobe Premiere, Apple Final Cut, and Apple Final Cut Pro 10, took us back to the very earliest days of the digital revolution, starting around 1990. Though I was amused to discover that Randy's career was sparked by being on the AV crew in high school. As I've said before, we stand on the shoulders of giants who have gone before us. The vast transformation of the media industry from analog to digital began with a simple challenge to Randy to design a way to add video capture to a graphics card. Premiere grew out of that initial digital video work on a product called Real Time at Supermac. Premiere first shipped in 1991. Last night I was sitting next to Michael Wohl, the original product manager for Final Cut, when it was still owned by Macromedia and called KeyGrip. Both of us got caught up in reminiscences of the early days, including the true story behind the Lindy Hop training video. Final Cut grew out of 3 years of development at Macromedia, launched at NAB in 1999 and first demoed by Paul Ciccone. The media industry exploded because Apple combined the power and price of Final Cut with FireWire to put digital video into every computer starting in 1999. Josh Meliker, the founder of dvcreators.net and originator of the first third-party training for Final Cut, was there last night as well. All these people met, shared ideas, and built companies at user groups. With the wealth of information available online, it's easy to think everything is accessible from the keyboard. But last night at the user group, I was talking with the product manager for DaVinci Resolve, an engineer working on unreleased software about new features, a developer of new VR training. I was answering technical questions from other members, and in general, seeing people that are almost impossible to see at a trade show. They're just too busy. User groups have fallen out of favor in these days of online everything, which is a shame, because user groups are a great place to meet the people you don't know, solve a problem without calling tech support, or discover something new that could light a candle under your career. Just something I'm thinking about. I want to thank this week's guests, Mike Horton with the LA Creative Pro User Group, Sue Lawson with the Chicago Creative Pro User Group, Wendy Woodhall with the LA Post-Production Group, Carey Dissmore with IMUG, and James DeRuvo with doddleNEWS.com. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. And remember to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter that comes out every Saturday morning. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Our producer is Debbie Price. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to the Digital Production Buzz. The Digital Production Buzz is copyright 2018 by Thalo LLC.